In the heart of the city, tucked between a bustling cafe and a forgotten bookstore, stood an antique shop no one seemed to notice. The sign above the door read Curios and Wonders, but the store was shrouded in a perpetual gloom, as if the very light around it was afraid to get too close. The windows were dusty, the display faded, and yet, one item caught the eye of every passerby: a mirror. It wasn't an ordinary mirror. Its frame was carved with strange symbols that seemed to shift when you weren't looking. The glass was silvered with an eerie tint, like the surface of a still pond at midnight. People would pause, glance into its depths, and then hurry away, unable to explain the chill that ran down their spines. Emma was different. She was curious. A graduate student in folklore, she had a knack for the unusual. One rainy evening, she pushed open the creaky door and stepped inside. The air smelled of old wood and something faintly metallic. The shop was dimly lit, shelves crowded with oddities. A taxidermied owl with glassy eyes, a vintage clock with no hands, and of course, the mirror. "Welcome," a voice said, startling her. The shopkeeper stood behind the counter, his face lined with age, his eyes unreadable. "You found the mirror," he said, as if it were inevitable. Emma hesitated but couldn't resist. "How much?" she asked. He named a price that made her blink, but something about the mirror drew her in. She left with it that night, the mirror wrapped clumsily in a blanket and leaning against her back seat. Back in her tiny apartment, she propped the mirror against a wall and stepped back. Her reflection stared back, same messy brown hair, same scattering of freckles across her nose. But there was something off. Her reflection's eyes seemed darker, almost black. "Just my imagination," she muttered. Days passed, and Emma found herself glancing at the mirror more and more. At first, it was just to check her appearance, but soon she was staring into its depths for minutes at a time. One evening, as she was getting ready for bed, she noticed something strange. Her reflection wasn't mimicking her movements. She raised an eyebrow. Her reflection raised both. She spun around, but the room was empty. When she turned back, her reflection was smiling. "Who are you?" Emma whispered. The reflection didn't answer, but it stepped closer to the glass. Emma's heart raced as she realized what was happening. Her reflection, now a foot away from her, reached out and pressed a hand against the mirror. And then it pushed. The glass rippled like water, and a cold, wet hand closed around Emma's wrist. She tried to scream, but her voice caught in her throat. The reflection's grip tightened, its touch ice cold. "Let me out," it hissed. Emma's world went black. When she came to, she was lying on the floor, her head throbbing. The mirror stood untouched, her reflection perfectly still. But something was wrong. The room felt lighter, the air thinner. And when she looked closer, her reflection was no longer her reflection. It was older. Its hair was streaked with gray, its face lined with wrinkles. And its eyes, those black, bottomless eyes, were watching her. "Time works differently in there," it said. "What do you mean?" Emma demanded, her voice trembling. The reflection smiled again. "You've been asleep for 20 years. As the words hung in the air, the room around Emma seemed to blur. She staggered, clutching the wall for balance, and when she looked back at the mirror, her reflection was gone. But the mirror wasn't empty. A figure huddled in the corner of the glass, small and frail, with silver hair and sunken eyes. It looked up and mouthed a single word: "Help." Emma's blood ran cold, and then the mirror went dark.